Welcome to Red Flags and Body Bags, the true crime podcast where the red flags are everywhere and the body count's already in the trunk. I'm Chloe.
And I'm Dana.
And today we're kicking off our very first series, Red Flag Husbands. These are men who gave I love you, babe, energy by day and homicidal sociopath by night. First up, Mr. Nice Guy from Colorado, who murdered his whole entire family and still got love letters in prison. Yup, you know it. Chris fucking Watts.
A man smiles into a camera. Behind him, his pregnant wife. Their daughters giggle in the background. By all accounts, they're the picture of a perfect suburban family. But 24 hours later, they'll all be dead. And that man, he'll be on national TV, begging for them to come home. This is the story of Chris Watts and the red flags everyone missed.
Welcome to Red Flags and Body Bags, where we unpack the crimes, the clues, and the chaos behind some of the most haunting true crime cases.
This season, we're starting with a banger. Red flag husbands. The men who looked loving, acted loyal, and turned out to be absolute monsters.
Episode 1, Chris Watts, the nice guy who murdered his pregnant wife and 2 daughters in cold blood, just so he could play house with his side piece.
Chris Watts wasn't loud. He wasn't abusive, not publicly. He wasn't the guy who throws things or screams at dinner. He was soft-spoken and mild-mannered, the kind of guy you'd never guess was planning to kill his entire family.
He was the gray man, just like you said the other day. Quiet, forgettable, unremarkable, on purpose. You know, the ones who fly under the radar, those are the ones you need to watch the most.
Yeah, and if you aren't familiar with gray man theory, we were talking about this the other day, and it's something that I remembered studying and I brought up. It's this concept that's like focused on maintaining a low profile and blending in. People like this don't want attention in that way. They want to avoid attention so that people can't see how they're being manipulative because they're blending in by being unremarkable. And the thing is, people love that about him, especially Shanann. She called him her rock, her safe place. He did the dishes, he put the girls to bed. But there's a difference between being helpful and being hollow.
And let's talk about that social media mask. Shanann was constantly posting those picture-perfect moments. Anniversary posts, family photos, gushing captions, all about her amazing husband. Looking back, it's like she was building a highlight reel for her own trial.
So, what were the red flags people missed? Because they were there. They were absolutely there. These weren't just he's acting weird moments. These were screaming signs, and no one caught them until it was too late.
Let's talk about the red flags. Not the little ones. Not he forgot to text me back red flags. We're talking about sudden body transformation, deleted text messages, and a complete emotional shutdown while your pregnant wife is planning your gender reveal.
So here's your list. The top red flags that built the body bags. Red flag number 1, the fitness obsession. Chris Watts was suddenly obsessed with fitness. Now, we're not knocking getting healthy, do your thing, but this man went from average dad bod to full gym rat with protein shakes, sneaky morning runs, and shirtless mirror pics.
And I don't know if you guys seen the documentary on Netflix about Chris Watts, but it definitely goes in detail about the text between them two, and you can really see the difference, and it also shows the difference in his appearance. You can definitely tell he was emotionally disconnecting.
Yeah, we were talking about this, how like him being obsessed with fitness is not necessarily a red flag. Sometimes people want to get healthy. They know they haven't been healthy. Something could have happened in their life or whatever, and they want to start working out, running. So that's not necessarily a red flag. But when you add in this secretiveness that he was having, and then his like emotional shut off,
definitely the emotional shut off.
Yeah, he was like not even caring about how she was feeling, and she was voicing it to him. So when you add those things in, then yeah, it looks like a bright red flag.
Especially all while his wife, Shanann, was pregnant. The whole time. And he started dieting, tanning, spending more hours at the gym. Like, who was he doing that for? Because it wasn't her.
Turns out he was doing it for his mistress, Nicole Kessinger.
Red flag number 2. He went emotionally flat. Shanann was out of town for work. She was texting him things like, "I miss you. Do you miss us?" He barely replied. No emojis, no warmth, just cold, dead energy.
Meanwhile, he's taking another woman on dates, like to the sand dunes, places he'd gone with Shanann before. He was literally recreating memories, but with someone new. If that's not psychopathic, I don't know what is.
Definitely psychopathic. That's wild because she was definitely like screaming for his attention that, you know, he had no interest in giving her. So yeah, I can see where she was freaking out about that.
And during that time, you can see like the emotional shutoff. He was trying to distance himself. He was trying to put himself as far away from her emotions as he could in the way that he was responding.
Red flag number 3, the phone games. He was deleting text threads, deleting call logs, sneaking messages through secret apps, all the while acting like nothing was wrong.
He even Googled how to prepare for separation while pregnant. Bro, just get a divorce. Don't kill your family.
Exactly. The murder wasn't about the conflict. It was all about control. He was a total freaking narcissist.
He was very controlling, but also when I watch that documentary and when I look back at it, I can see that he was trying to distance himself away from any feeling that he might have about her, any feelings of, you know, guilt or anything for what he was doing.
For sure.
Red flag number 4, the coldness towards his kids. Here's one people miss. In the last couple weeks, he stopped being affectionate with his daughters. Shanann told her friends he's just not himself. He doesn't even hug the girls anymore. That's terrifying.
Yeah. Like emotionally detaching to prep for what he was going to do. He wasn't distancing himself because he was stressed. He was emotionally discarding them.
He was pushing every emotion that he could possibly have for them away so that he could build this new life with this new person and not even feel like they existed.
Okay, but how crazy is that? Like, instead of just accepting your responsibility as a father of 2 young girls who love you, so instead of like having to co-parent, you choose to just kill them and restart your whole life. Like, that's just beyond crazy. That's hard to wrap my mind around.
The psychology of it is really interesting, and we are going to get into that later, but the fact that someone would go straight to that thought process is very scary.
Different mind for sure. Different way of thinking.
Red flag number 5, the lies about whereabouts. He lied about everything, where he was, who he was with, even his work truck. He staged the entire morning, loading tools at 5 a.m., while Shanann's body was already in the back seat.
And get this, when police pulled up to his house, the neighbors showed them footage from his security cam. And even the neighbor was like, he's not acting right. So if you guys have seen the documentary on Netflix, it literally shows you he will not look at that TV whenever the neighbor is trying to show the cops the footage, because he has no idea what he's about to see on the footage and what the footage even captured. So he's just like not even looking at the TV. He's like, whatever. He's completely sweating bullets.
It's almost like he was trying to put it out of his mind, like it didn't happen, and he didn't want to look at it and have it validated as something that did happen. So it's almost like he just didn't even want to see anything on the screen.
Yeah, it was wild.
The whole while he's like pacing and shaking and stuttering and spouting things off. You can clearly tell that he's like super nervous.
It was pretty obvious for sure that he was up to something.
All right, let's break down the neighbor cam moment. Chris watches himself on screen and he starts swaying, sweating, twitching. He's visibly freaking out right there in front of the cops.
Yeah, it was pretty much like his body betrayed him. He's trying to stay calm, but the guilt is literally leaking out of every pore.
So many women, and I mean so many, miss these signs because they're wrapped in excuses. He's just tired, he's stressed from work, it's a phase. But y'all, phases don't usually end in triple homicide.
That's so true. These weren't red flags. These were crime scene indicators just waiting to happen.
And at the center of it all, a man with no criminal record, no history of violence, and no public warning signs. Until the mask came off and the monster underneath finally stepped out.
Okay, so I don't think he snapped. He made a choice. And let's talk about what lit the match, because he didn't just wake up one day and decide, oh, I'm going to become a murderer. He was already building a fantasy life, and someone else was in it.
Enter Nicole Kessinger, the coworker, the affair partner, the woman who, according to her own Google searches, looked up how to be with a man who's married.
What? That's wild. She also Googled, can people delete phone records? How to prepare for a new relationship? And wait for it, Amber Fry and Scott Peterson. Girl, what?
I know a lot of people miss her in the documentary because she's only in there for such a short time, and a lot of people don't know about these Google searches, but they actually happened. She actually looked up how to be with a man who's married and deleting phone records, so she was somewhat aware of what was happening. Like, if you're Googling the girlfriend from a murder case, maybe take a lap.
So Kessinger claims she didn't know Shanann was pregnant, but it's hard to believe. Shanann's social media was wide open. She was documenting everything. She posted a pregnancy announcement video just weeks before the murder.
Also, Nicole told police that when Chris confessed to her about the separation, she felt sorry for him, then slept with him, then kept seeing him even as Shanann and the kids were still alive. So here's what's wild. Let's talk about Chris's double life for a second. He was texting Shanann and Nicole on the same day, sending Shanann cold, one-worded answers, and then texting Nicole, I'm so excited to build this life with you.
We're talking two different realities here. In one, he's a family man. In the other, he's a bachelor starting fresh. And the moment those worlds collided, he chose to erase one of them.
It's almost like he thought that he could just continue that way, and then when he realized he could just push Shanann out entirely by getting rid of her, that was the choice he took.
Yeah. There's a psychological phenomenon called family annihilation, and it usually happens when a man feels trapped, financially, emotionally, or socially. So instead of facing, the consequences, they just wipe the board clean and start fresh. And in his mind, I guess that was killing the family and redoing his whole life.
Yeah, actually, let's take a psych break here and talk about the psychology behind these things. We're saying he didn't snap. He dissociated, detached, and deleted. Let's talk about what that looks like from a psychology perspective. Some of the traits that are important to highlight are narcissistic collapse. He wasn't just cheating, he was crafting a new identity where he was free, desirable, and adored by Nicole. Narcissists build their identity on external validation. When that structure starts to fall, financial stress, pregnancy, things like that, they don't handle it. They implode or wipe the slate. The psychology behind that's very interesting in itself because your average brain doesn't think that way. But Watts didn't want to face failure. His marriage ending, child support, losing the affair. So he chose destruction instead of discomfort. He didn't snap, he unraveled. Narcissists don't handle losing control. They erase the parts of their life that threaten their fantasy. Another trait to highlight is the erasure fantasy. He didn't want to fix his life. He wanted a clean new one. He didn't want conflict or divorce. He wanted to replace his wife, his kids, his story. Family annihilators often believe that killing is the only way to truly start over. It's sick, but it's a pattern.
I mean, that just sounds more than narcissistic when you're literally, I don't even know, like, how are you pretending to be like this all-American great dad to these two little cutest girls ever? The little girls are so freaking cute and super sweet, and they seem to adore him from what they know of him, and like that just seems more than narcissistic to me to be that way. And then 5 weeks later, while she was on a 5-week vacation, I believe, with her parents when she took the girls, and the whole time she's like doesn't know if he even is existing at this point. Like, he's barely even sending her messages. That just seems more than narcissistic to just completely disconnect. And then when they get home, it's like he planned. He's like, okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and kill them and restart my life. So you rather do that than, you rather go to prison and live with that than to just co-parent and get a divorce? Like, what, 90% of the population?
I think it's really hard for us to understand or like wrap our brain around, because we would never think that way.
Yeah.
But there are people in the world that have narcissism or that are family annihilators that do things like this, and it's just so hard to think that that's the thought process they would have. But
the fact that they think they can get away with it,
yes,
that's crazy.
The narcissism made him feel like he could, but also, when you think about it, divorce would have made him the bad guy. Murder made him single. And in his mind, it was a shortcut. It was like a twisted reboot on his life.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Another trait to highlight is detachment and cold empathy. People like this aren't emotionless. They just detach from emotions that they don't want to feel. By the time he killed his daughters, he had already dehumanized them in his mind. That's how he could carry their bodies with no reaction. He didn't just stop loving them. He stopped seeing them as people. It's easier to kill someone when you've already made them invisible. He didn't kill out of rage. He killed to maintain control. This is another trait to highlight. Control. It wasn't an emotional outburst. It was planned, methodical, right down to the oil tanks. He didn't want to be seen as a monster, so he lied, staged, acted shocked. That's what made him even scarier. He wanted the new life, the new body, the new girlfriend, but he wanted none of the consequences. So, he made his past disappear. As far as the psychology of it goes, he had narcissistic fragility. He used detachment to justify unimaginable actions. He committed family erasure, which is a phenomenon often tied to shame and failure. He chose image over empathy and wanted to be seen as the victim, even after committing these unthinkable acts.
So his motive wasn't rage. It was fantasy. He wanted a clean slate, but didn't want to be seen as the bad guy. So he staged it, played victim, gave interviews, and the whole time, he knew where the bodies were. That's insane.
He did. He even told cops, I don't know where they are, I just want them back. When literally his wife was buried in a shallow grave and his daughters were stuffed in oil tanks.
Okay, but the level of cold it takes to do that and then go on freaking TV, this guy didn't just kill his family. He literally tried to kill their memory.
And it's just a testament to like how good he was at emotional detachment, how good he was at making them invisible, because he was actually able to go on TV and say all the things that he said without any of the emotions tied to what he did.
That's wild.
The scariest thing about Chris Watts is how normal he looked. The quiet guy, the good husband, the dad who went to work early.
It wasn't a moment of madness. It was methodical. It started the moment someone made him feel like he deserved a new life, no matter the cost.
Next, we break down what happened after the murders, how he hid the bodies, what the footage shows, and how the man who smiled through it all was finally caught. What kind of man can kill his wife, his kids, and still go to work like nothing happened? It's the early morning of August 13th, 2018. Shanann has just come home from a business trip. She's 15 weeks pregnant with their son, Nico.
The next few hours are still debated, but here's what we know. Chris claims Shanann confronted him about the affair. He tells police they argued, and in a rage, he strangled her.
But here's the truth. He planned it. He waited until the house was dark and silent. He killed her slowly and deliberately while their daughters were sleeping down the hall.
Then came the part no one wants to believe. Chris carried Shanann's body to his truck, and then he brought his daughters, whom were still alive, into the cab with her.
That's right. 4-year-old Bella and 3-year-old Celeste sat in a truck with their dead mother, not knowing that they were next.
He drove them 45 minutes to an oil site, smothered them, and stuffed their little bodies into separate oil tanks.
Bella fought back. There were injuries inside her mouth. She said, "Daddy, no," and we know this from court records that were later released. And he did it anyway.
After disposing of the bodies, he texted Shanann's friends, pretending she was home. He deleted messages, went to work, literally acted totally normal.
Later that day, he gave interviews, pleaded for his family to come home. He was on the porch saying, "If you're out there, just come back." Meanwhile, he knew exactly where they were. And if you watch the documentary at all, they show that clip of him standing on the porch saying, "If you're out there, just come back." He has his arms crossed. He's smiling at different points. He even lets out a little laugh, I would say, or like a giggle.
Almost like a smirk, yeah.
And so it's just really hard to believe that he had done all of these things and then was standing there with that body language and that demeanor saying the things he said.
Yeah, it didn't take long for things to unravel. I mean, I think the cops noticed his story wasn't adding up. And when he took that polygraph test, he failed miserably. And when you watch the documentary on that, it does show the lady coming in with the polygraph test, and she's trying to get him to relax because he's already failing it. Like, literally ask him, 3 questions. He probably got his name right. That was literally all he got right. And she even tells him, okay, I'm going to need you to take a deep breath and calm down. He failed it so bad. And you can see her demeanor change. And I think that's when she realized she was literally sitting there, sitting in front of the killer. She knew that. You could see it all, just her whole demeanor change.
Yeah, and the polygraph examiner told him straight up, "Chris, we know you're lying." She gave him a chance to come clean.
And he did, sort of. He blamed Shanann. Said she killed the girls, and he reacted. Classic deflection. But the evidence told the real story.
That deflection is also just another testament to his narcissism. He didn't want to take responsibility for anything, and he, in the very end, when he was caught red-handed, he was caught on the polygraph and they knew that he was lying, he still took one final shot to blame it on Shanann and make it look like it was her fault and not his.
But also in the documentary, you will see, before he confessed, before he even said anything about anything, the lady giving the polygraph test and the detective both said, "We're trying to get him to talk and get him to, come out and say it." And they were like, "Did Shanann do something to the girls?" And I think that set in his brain was like, "Oh, yeah, you know what? If I do it that way, it's going to make it look like she did it."
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
He saw a way to, put the blame on her.
Yeah, they definitely, gave him that idea, and he just ran with it, which is crazy.
He did. Under pressure, though, and with his father in the room, he finally confessed. He killed them all. He told police how he did it, but what's chilling is the lack of emotion in his voice, he was literally reading a grocery list.
There was no grief, no breakdown, just cold facts from a man who erased his whole entire family, so he could move on like it was nothing.
What makes Chris Watts terrifying isn't just what he did. It's how calm he was doing it. No prior violence, no warning signs the neighbors could see. Just a quiet guy who smiled in pictures and strangled his pregnant wife in their bed.
He wasn't a monster in the movies. He was a monster in sweatpants hiding in plain sight.
He was, and I think that's why so many people relate with this story, because he was your average American dad just doing the things that you would expect him to do, not really making a scene or too much noise.
Yeah, but I mean, come on. That's a psychopath. Harming a child in general, and they look at you and say, Daddy, please no. How do you continue to do that? Like, that is complete psychopathic.
Yeah, it's really hard for me to picture them sitting in the back of that truck with their mom and not knowing what they were headed to or why or that they were next. It's really hard for me to picture that or to imagine that.
Yeah.
He's their dad.
Yeah. Someone's supposed to protect them.
Next time on Red Flags and Body Bags, we'll take a look at another husband with charm, lies, and murder on his mind.
Scott Peterson. Another pregnant wife, another affair, and another case where the red flags are waving long before the body washed up.
If you like what you heard, leave us a review, or at least double check your partner's search history.
Until next time, stay suspicious.